Hi, this is Rich Lieberman on the media show, your favorite Bay Area and beyond media show on YouTube. I'm here a lot, and boy, you can't get enough of me, right? Well, that's your fault. I was talking today to somebody, and I said that Channel 7 news back in the 70s when I was growing up, that it was not only a good news show, it was very entertaining. And this person was incredulous. They were like, "What? What? I didn't think it was that." Well, it was entertaining. In fact, Channel 7 in the 70s, those of you familiar with the Bay Area news scene, funny. The name of the program on Channel 7 was called News Scene, News, and then, of course, Scene, Scene, News Scene. And the big time stars, I call them stars because they were not only anchors, they were stars, folks. They were news anchors and weather anchors and sidekicks and sports people, but they were entertaining. And the ratings for News Scene were off the chart. Big time ratings. Let me tell you some of the people, and some of these folks you might remember. I wrote a lot about News Scene when I was writing more, but people didn't understand the fact that News Scene was huge, a huge. Granted, look, this is before the internet and all that, but the news in San Francisco and the Bay Area in the 70s was led by Van Amber, who was big time. Van was like the Chuck Scarborough of the Bay Area. Chuck Scarborough was the big time news anchor in New York at NBC. So you had Van Amber, you had Jerry Jensen. Pete Giddings was the highest paid weather guy, anchor, but God, he worked 3 newscasts a night, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and of course the 11 o'clock news. Pete was irritable. He was annoying. He was arrogant, a complete fill in the blank, but he was funny. And people watched him. People had this fascination with Peter Giddings because he had the polka dot tie. He would talk about things other than the weather, but he would mix in stuff. He had little features having to do with little kids. He would do a report on the Tahoe ski scene. You'd often see Pete coming down a mountaintop in Lake Tahoe talking about skiing. Pete originated the drawing. That was when they didn't have computers, or they did, but they didn't have computer generated images. But Pete would have this big fat dark marker and would put in the temperatures and would talk vociferously about the 3-day forecast and say anything beyond that, don't believe it. Well, now we have what, 6 2-week, 1-month forecasts and all that. Pete Giddings, still alive, doing very well. And anyway, he was the weather guy for Channel 7 News Scene. He had sports people, John O'Reilly, Jim Selania. They hired a guy by the name of Martin Wyatt. Martin came aboard at Channel 7. But News Scene, as it was known, was revolutionary. Many people thought it was the birthplace of Happy Talk. It was not, but it made a significant contribution to the TV news guide known as Happy Talk. You know what Happy Talk is? That's when you talk about the news and you are very graphic about certain stories. And it's a whole, look it up. Well, Channel 7 in San Francisco in the 70s, it originated certain aspects of Happy Talk. Again, Van, Jerry Jensen, John O'Reilly, Pete Giddings, Don Sanchez. They had a whole staple of reporters. Easily one of not only the best newscasts, it wasn't for everybody, right? But it was for a lot of people. And a lot of stations in the Bay Area, they tried everything, folks, to get a piece of the audience. They couldn't be as entertaining. They couldn't be as informative. They couldn't be Channel 7. Channel 7 back then was just beyond everything. Informative, entertaining, watchable. Boy, was it watchable. And people would, honest to God, it was kind of like an entertainment show. And mind you, they had a lot of programs back then. But a lot of, I said programs, a lot of news events that fit the times, like Patty Hearst, the whole Patty Hearst kidnapping. We got something like that going on today. But we had the Patty Hearst kidnapping. We had the earthquakes. We had things of the nature like the zebra killings. Unfortunately, a lot of tragedy. Guyana, the People's Temple tragedy. Boy, was that sordid and completely tragic. The Milk Moscone murders. Van Amberg became a part of the Bay Area family. He was more than just your normal anchors. He was like the look. He was the guy. Jerry Jensen was the second fiddle, but he was very much a part of the entire operation, the whole production. The boy was in a production. Channel 7, which was then owned by ABC, which was independent, didn't have these multiple corporate, they called it the Alphabet Network, still call that today, but it wasn't obviously owned by Disney. And Channel 7 was a force. It was watchable and interesting and provocative. And nowadays, it's not even a sliver of itself. And don't give me the whole, well, it's a whole different world. Well, everything's a whole different world. Doesn't mean you regress. Doesn't mean you turn into a piss poor snooze fest. You hire talent. You hire people that are interesting and have passion. And maybe they're not funny, but at least they're entertaining because they know their craft. They're passionate about their craft. And now Channel 7 is boring, a snooze fest. What do we got here? Oh, somebody's thanking me with $1.99. Well, good. That'll give me a quarter tank of gas. No, I'm joking. Whoever that is, thank you. But you guys get it. Channel 7 was big time and had some of the biggest, highest paid news anchors, which back then, Van Amberg making $500,000 was a lot of money. Van left Channel 7, KGO, in 1989, and he was making well over $1 million. A lot of money today. It was a lot of money back then, especially for a San Francisco Bay Area TV news anchor. Pete Giddings, highest paid weather guy, $300,000 a year. Again, the whole scheme of things, not a lot of money, but it's significant coin. It was back then. KGO Channel 7 news scene, a force to be reckoned with. Nobody could beat it back then. It was a unique show, multiple shows. They laughed. They told funny stories. They immersed their own, shall I say, comedy with some really sordid affairs. But people watched. Lots of people watched. Why? Well, the ratings showed it. That's why they paid all these people a lot of money. Hey, I'm Rich Lieberman. Become a subscriber to my YouTube here. Just click on subscribe. You're in If you want to make a donation, like some guy just gave me $2, that's great. Please. I'm a one-man show. I talk about everything. I talk about local television. I talk about radio. I talk about national radio and local radio and TV and streaming and trends. Sometimes, like possibly tonight, we will have a live broadcast like I'm having now, but we'll talk about anything, and I will try to inject humor and information and a whole lot of, well, let's just say fun, frivolity into an otherwise dreary. I know a lot of the country, it's got snow, we've gotten rain out here in California. It's supposed to be a very wet week. We'll inject our own sense of humor, and you can tag along. Just find out. Go on to my Twitter, which is at Rich415Media. Just check back here in about an hour. I'll be back, God willing. And again, become a subscriber to my Rich415 Media here on YouTube, and we will make you a very happy camper. All right. Talk to you soon. See you later, and thanks for watching.